This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Cut the damn music. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Right here with you as I love to be every day over the airways of ESPN Radio. 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let me be very clear. I'm pretty ticked off. I am not having a good day. I got a lot of NBA playoff stuff to get into with Philly losing against Boston last night. With LeBron playing Toronto tonight. With Steph Curry returning in Golden State tonight. I got a whole bunch of NBA stuff to get to, and I will. And boy, am I going to get into my Yankees, too, because, damn it, I'm sick and tired of them losing to the Houston Astros. I mean, the Astros are just too damn good. They just find ways. I love Houston. I love H-Town, but damn it, I'm a native New Yorker, and it sickens me that the New York Yankees keep losing to the Houston Astros. It just sickens me. But that is not why I am upset right now. That is not why I cut my intro music. That is not why I am perturbed to no end. You know, when you're covering the NBA playoffs for as long as I have, you're allergic to ineptitude. You're allergic to teams that are just totally irrelevant. Teams that can't find their way out of a paper bag. Teams that can't figure out how to do something right. Matter of fact, even before they do something wrong, you're worried they'll do something wrong. And as a result, you get into panic mode. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, I'm approaching that. I'm approaching panic mode. I am. Because, as Adrian Wojnarowski for ESPN reported, Knicks have just completed, the New York Knicks have just completed their head coaching search. They met with Warriors assistant Mike Brown, and I think it's like 12 different candidates they've interviewed. They've interviewed the David Fizdales of the world, the Jerry Stackhouses of the world, to Mike Woodsons of the world, who deserved consideration because Mike Woodson should be a head coach in this league again. They've also interviewed Mike Budenholzer in Atlanta. And I don't understand why he talked to the Phoenix Suns. Now he talked to the Knicks, but he's the head coach in Atlanta. I don't know what's going on with him, but that's a different subject for a different day because who cares about the Atlanta Hawks? Who cares? Wait for them to be relevant, damn it. But they also interviewed Juwan Howard of the Miami Heat. The list keeps going on and on and on. To be clear, they interviewed Kenny Smith. They interviewed Celtics assistant Jay Larranaga. They interviewed San Antonio Spurs assistant James Borrego. And I mentioned everybody else, including former Cleveland Cavaliers coach David Blatt, who's been coaching in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to have to repeat myself. It annoys me. Matter of fact, it ticks me off in this town, New York City, which is where I'm at right now. It ticks me off because certain things are just too damn obvious. Don't make it complicated. I am sure that any single one of these candidates that you interview qualify for the job. I know Fizdale can coach. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing against David Blatt. I think that he can coach. David Blatt's not a bad coach. Jerry Stackhouse has tremendous promise. Mike Woodson won 54 games. Last time we won the division crown in New York City with the New York Knicks, Mike Woodson was the head coach. $11 candidates the New York Knicks have interviewed for the job. 11. And even though he has no head coaching experience, and I think he'd be better suited for an executive position rather than a coaching position, I was happy the New York Knicks interviewed Kenny Smith for TNT. I was very happy about that. But let me be very, very clear about what I'm about to say. When I sit up and raise holy hell in support of Mark Jackson as the head coach for the New York Knicks, the next head coach for the New York Knicks, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about just coaching. I'm talking about a culture changer. I'm talking about, for once, seeing someone stand before the cameras in New York, knowing they're one of us, and having this belief in your soul that this person is the right man because he gets us. That's Mark Jackson. That's Mark Jackson. And why is that needed? Because James Dolan is the boss. Because Madison Square Garden and the business enterprise it is hovers over this franchise like a damn virus. I respect the hell out of Steve Mills. I'm glad he's back. Scott Perry's been my man for years. He knows basketball. He knows what the hell he's doing. I believe in those two. They are not the spokespeople that this city needs. I'm not saying replace them. I'm saying let them go in the dark and do their job. The person that should be in front of the lights and cameras speaking on behalf of the organization has to be somebody that we, A, care to listen to, and number two, believe. It ain't Dolan. You might believe Steve Mills, but you don't care to hear from him too much. Not when you're wondering who the coach is going to be and what your roster is going to look like. I firmly believe Steve Mills and Scott Perry will do the job. But not if they're distracted by having to be in front of the camera and convincing New Yorkers that yet another pathetic basketball season is on the horizon. Or having to convince them it's not. You need a culture change. Have you not been paying attention? Why do you think James Harden didn't mind that Kevin McHale left? Kevin McHale did a damn good job in Houston. But there's a reason that Daryl Morey is considered one of the great executives in the game today. And it ain't because of some damn analytics. Which, by the way, has its purpose. I'm not totally against it. But it's because Daryl Morey has that sixth sense. He understands when a culture change needs to take place. And I can sit up there and be critical of the job that Mike D'Antoni did for a couple of years in New York City, even though he got it up to the players one day. What I will never deny is that you give Mike D'Antoni some offensive weapons. That man knows what to do with it. And more importantly, he knows how to fill seats while doing so because of the brand and style of basketball he implements. You understand what's going on in Houston, don't y'all? This man is coming for the Warriors. Do I believe they'll get him? Not with a healthy Steph Curry, but he is coming. When Klay Thompson goes against the New Orleans Pelicans and he talks about being a bit tired, that is the wrong thing to come out of your mouth when the Houston Rockets are potentially on the horizon, likely on the horizon, because them brothers are coming. Mike D'Antoni has everything to do with that. So does Daryl Morey, who hired him, who was the visionary that saw the change that needed to be made to complement and assuage the concerns of James Harden, who should be and will be the league MVP. Alvin Gentry, New Orleans. Boogie Cousins goes down. What does Gentry do? Man, I got one of the great players in the world. Anthony Davis is a superstar. Let me sit up there and speed the tempo up. Let me up this thing. Let me cater to his wishes, his desires, his needs. And now look at New Orleans. It takes a juggernaut like the Golden State Warriors to stifle them. After they swept Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, and the Portland Trail Blazers. Look at Boston. Look at what Danny Ainge has done. I got Doc Rivers. I'm winning a championship in 2008. I'm competing for championships for the next 3 years. Would I start a lineup healthy? KG, Kendrick Perkins, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. We've never lost a playoff series. Danny Ainge says, you know what? Doc Rivers, you want out? Clippers, you willing to give us some compensation? Fine, take them. I got a replacement, a successor. His name is Brad Stevens. I used to call Brad Stevens probably the best young coach in basketball. I want to apologize right here on national radio. That was an insult to Brad Stevens. Take the word young out of it. This man is one of the great coaches in the game of basketball. Period. A Butler program to back-to-back national title game appearances. Comes to the NBA. Coaching his tail off. Oh, by the way, you get Gordon Hayward to come your old college player at Butler. You get him to leave Utah, come to Boston. He goes down 10 minutes into game one of the regular season. And you win 55 games anyway. And the last half, the last month of the season, pretty much, Kyrie Irving is out. You still win. And then you beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series with the Greek Freak. And then after that, you've got the Sixers to go up against, who had won 16 straight to end the regular season, who had won 20 or 21 of their last 21 games. And they come in the TD Bank Garden in Boston against you with the parquet floor and the Boston faithful. And guess what? You don't have Jaylen Brown. So now you don't have Gordon Hayward. You don't have Jaylen Brown. You don't have Kyrie Irving. And you run them out of the building. Because you said, let Joel Embiid get his 30. We gonna get all up in Ben Simmons' jockstrap. We gonna make sure he ends up having more turnovers than made field goals. And by the way, all them damn shooters the Sixers have, let's just make them put it on the floor. Turn them into 2-point scorers instead of 3-point scorers. Sixers look lost. Couldn't tell whether they were lost, indifferent, or just completely outplayed. Look at Toronto with Masai Ujiri and Dwayne Casey. DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, that two-headed monster didn't change, but wasn't good enough. So what do? They not only add Serge Ibaka last year like Masai did, still keeping Jonas Valanciunas, but they also got this tall kid, Pirtle, and this other dude, Siakam. Length and athleticism and ruggedness. Best record in the Eastern Conference. And oh, by the way, they got some miniature dude named Fred VanVleet, who Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan point to and says, you put this brother on the court with us. He hits shots. It helps spreads the floor. It gives us more room to operate and do the damage we're capable of doing because they're aiming for LeBron. These are what teams are doing. Look at Utah. Yeah, they got blown out by Houston, but who can deny the job that Quinn Snyder has done? Along with their brass. Look at Donovan Mitchell. Wasn't he picked 13th or 14th overall? Wasn't that ahead of the Knicks? Wasn't that after the Knicks pick? At 8. Donovan Mitchell ends up in Utah because Phil Jackson, the 11-time champion, the Zen master, he knows so much about basketball. He gives you Frank Ntilikina, some dude out of France who made the back pages of a newspaper because he scored 15 points in a regular season game that was beyond meaningless because the Knicks season was already over. But Donovan Mitchell is dropping 38 in a closeout game 6 against Russell Westbrook and averaging 28 in the playoffs. Culture. It matters. It ain't just about X's and O's. It's about knowing what a franchise needs, how much a city has suffered, and how much the city needs in order to sit up there and come together and galvanize their team to propel them to new heights. It's happening in Utah. It's happening in New Orleans. It's happened in Houston. It's happened in Golden State. It's happened in Boston. It's happened in Philadelphia. Where the hell has New York been? Where? And knowing this reality, this disgraceful, disgusting reality, which is tantamount to a basketball crime, we gotta sit here and wonder whether the answer to all of this is David Blatt, Mike Budenholzer, Jay Larranaga, or Larringer, or whatever the hell his name is. Really? Y'all don't get it? New York Knicks, you don't get it? Don't act like you don't hear me! You don't get it? Some of the greatest fans in the world descend upon New York City if they're not already from here. It's the media capital of the world. One of the greatest cities ever known to man. The NBA league office is in New York City. Overlooking St. Patrick's Cathedral. Without question, praying that someday, somehow, some way, a right decision is made. And my God, do they have company. We're all praying. Hell, they might even be praying in other cities for the Knicks' success. That's how moribund this franchise has been. It's pretty damn difficult to take. The right decision has to be made. Has to be made now. Enough with these damn interviews. Get the right man in here. Give New Yorkers the culture change that we need. Do what you need to do for a change. And by the way, to James Dolan, if you're listening, when you're out there talking about how everybody wanted you to hire Phil Jackson and then you did what the folks asked you to do, but then they wanted you to get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. It's because we thought Phil Jackson, the 11-time champion, was going to actually come here and be more interested in running a basketball operation rather than stealing your money. How the hell were we supposed to know that? I don't know how much more of this I can take, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really don't know. I am not a proponent of Mark Jackson just because I think he can coach. I think all of those guys can coach. Every one of them. And I think all of them, from an X's and O's standpoint, would be ready for the challenge. But New York poses a different challenge. Since James Dolan has arrived. And in order to get him out of the way, where he just cuts the check and leaves basketball to folks who know basketball, you have to get somebody in here that galvanizes New York in a way that tells James Dolan subliminally, if not directly, fall the hell back. This is how this needs to be done. I'm only going to say that. It's the last time I'm going to say that. Steve Mills, Scott Perry. The rest is on y'all.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Start off hour number 2. All-Pro wide receiver A.J. Green for the Cincinnati Bengals will be on the show with us. Talk to us about some NFL action. Until then, 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's the calls. That's the number to call into the show. Let me get to a couple of items before I finish my thought. Couple of things I wanted to do. Number one, I wanted to reiterate. Somebody said that, I intimated on First Take yesterday that Mormons were Christians or something. First of all, let me apologize ahead of time because I don't recall saying that, but if I did, I sincerely apologize. I'm fully aware that Mormons are Christians. So I just want to pick that because I got listeners in Utah. I want you to know that. So that might have been a slip up on my part arguing with Max Kellerman about a completely different point. I want to make sure I apologize if indeed I said something so ignorant, because I'm fully aware that you're Christians. Number one. Number two, getting back to the issue of basketball, let me say this. As it pertains to the New York Knicks, I'm talking culture change here. In my perfect world, Mark Jackson would be the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're a better team with better parts, and I think he could do damage with that team. But I'm saying in the interest of New York, understanding the culture that exists, please understand, everybody's saying, well, Stephen A., what difference does it make? Because Dolan and them are going to do what they're going to do. They get in the way. My point is we need somebody here as an extension of the people that would make the business of Madison Square Garden refrain from getting in that coach's way. That's my hope. That's what I'm after here. That's why I keep bringing up the name Mark Jackson for New York. That's why I believe that. On another note, a friend of mine who will remain nameless sat up there with his sensitive self talking about I'm still hating on Ben Simmons. I am not hating on Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a superstar in the making. This brother is special. And when he gets a jump shot, he'll be LeBron part 2, but he don't have one yet. Only attempted 12 3-pointers on the year, didn't hit a single one of them. He ain't a jump shooter. And when he's on the court, unless he's attacking the basket and finishing or kicking it out to shooters, Ben Simmons is going to have some problems with Boston. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. JP in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. I knew you'd be calling in, buddy. What's going on? The floor is yours.
What's up, team? Thanks for having me. I've been trying to get in contact with you for the longest about this Mark Jackson situation.
Go ahead, man. Floor is yours.
I am livid. as a Knicks fan, and it's not like I can get up and walk away. It's like, a lot of racist people going around treating black people bad in America. And the answer, why don't you leave? And the Knicks is the same way. They're treating the Knicks fans horribly. And the answer is then, root for another team. And it's not that easy. Mark Jackson should have already been in the office looking at who we're trying to draft, trying to establish an identity for the team. But these guys want to be cute. They want to be cute, just like the Browns was cute with they pick. They want to be cute with, what coach is going to.
They want us to know.
They want us to know
they want us to know they're putting forth their due diligence, which I can respect. But this is more than just basketball. That's how bad, as a franchise, as a conglomerate, this is how bad the Knicks have been. It can't be just about basketball.
It's games they playing with us. This has nothing to do with that. This has to do with, this man coming here and bringing his players, just like any other coach who started, coaching a team, and all of a sudden the team started to do good and he got fired. And they bring their own players with them. Boston had that situation. Minnesota has that situation. They have a new coach, and the coach starts to get successful with the team, and he brings in old players. Imagine that Mark Jackson got their job and he brought some of those Golden State boys here to New York.
Well, the one possibility would be Klay Thompson, who's going to be a free agent in 2019, next summer. But I think that Klay would choose L.A. or Miami before he chose New York because he loves warm weather.
Well, he loves his coach too. He is the man who showed him the light. He is more loyal to him than he is to the warm weather. New York, this is basketball. We are indoor sport. It's not like football where you got to be outside freezing your butt off. You in New York City. Okay, there's nothing wrong coming to New York
that's wishful thinking, JP. That's what you might be right, but that's wishful thinking. You don't know that, neither do I.
Okay, Steven, this Saquon Barkley pick, we had to get him. Not because, he's a transition, this big time player, because, as long as Eli Manning is in a Giants uniform, we're not drafting a quarterback that we think or that we know who could take his spot. It's not happening because of what took place last season. We can't have that again this season. We have to go into the season together. The fans have to be together. The ownership has to be together, and the team has to be together. You bring another quarterback here, you asking for trouble.
We agree. There's no disagreement there. And JP, I appreciate your call as always, man. Thank you so much. There's no disagreement there, none whatsoever. Don't even worry about that one. Let's go to Andrew in Dallas. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A.
Talk to me. What's up? Thank you, bro. Go ahead.
All right. I know that Philly struggled with Boston in Game 1, but I still believe that they'll win the series. If Philly wins, do they get out of the East?
Andrew.
Yeah, can you hear
me? Yeah, Jess, I can hear you. Go ahead. You live on the air, man. Millions are listening to you. Go ahead.
If Philly wins, do they get out of the Eastern Conference?
Yes. I picked them to go to the finals. I believe they will. But we got to wait and see. Because right now, I'm worried about them against Boston. This damn Brad Stevens, man, this man could coach. This man could coach. And the players, this kid Terry Rozier is special. Special. Could you imagine if him and Kyrie are in a lineup together on the court? Then again, or him coming off the bench, because guess what? Jaylen Brown is your off guard when you got Gordon Hayward in the lineup. I'm just saying, man, Boston. We've been talking about Philly, Boston. We're going to learn a lot this series because I got news for you. If Philly does not beat the Boston Celtics, these playoffs, I got some news for you. I'll explain exactly what I mean in just a minute.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Had damn Charlie Morton for the Astros. Pitched a no-hitter through 5 innings before giving up a single in the 6th. To Austin Romine, I mean, these Astros. They're so damn good. They really, really are. They really, really are. Hey, Brett Gardner, I hope you're listening. Thanks for the single last night, but 3 for 35 slump. I mean, come on, can we get it together, please? Please? Pretty please with sugar on top, please? Please? Just saying. Just saying. Damn Astros. They're so good. They're so good. NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight as the Pelicans take on the Warriors, presented by Barbasol Razors. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on most ESPN radio stations. Just want to let y'all know that. 888-SAY-ESPN, that's the number to call. It's 888-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Cedric. Texas, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What's up, Brother Steve? How you doing, brother?
Talk to me, my man. Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir. I wanted to tell you, man, I support you 100% what you said on the Knicks. I do like a couple of other coaches I'd like to look at also. Mark Jackson, no doubt, number one. But I even like looking at a Kenny Smith and also maybe even a Jay Stackhouse, to kind of relate to
They've all been interviewed. They've all been interviewed.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. But as I look at the roster, I'm just going to be straight up with you now. You got some straight garbage on that team. The only
we know that.
The only dogs I see on that team is I keep Hardaway, I may keep Burke and Cantor. The rest of it, you can kind of push it on out.
You said Cantor. Who else?
Hardaway and Burke.
No Porzingis?
Porzingis, yeah.
All right, I was getting ready to say, I was getting ready to hang up on you. I was getting ready to hang up on you and strip you of your basketball card for a week from this show.
Yes, this last comment I'm going to make, I'm going to hang up, Steve. I'm going to let you just comment on it.
Go ahead.
Hey, dog, that NFL draft, I'm very disappointed. How in the hell do you not draft J.T. Barrett? How do you draft a rugby player that's never even played football over a national champion and a pure outlandish winner? I'm going to hang up. Peace to you.
I don't have any answer to that. I'm not going to tell you that J.T. Barrett is, he's a tweener. You don't consider him a pass on the NFL level. And his athleticism, as gifted as he is, you don't see him playing wide receiver like Terrell Pryor or somebody else either. So I don't know, but I'm just saying it's hard for me to imagine that you can draft a rugby player before you draft him. That much I will concede, no doubt. Let's go to Ori in Maine. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. I was just curious. Now that Terry Rozier is playing so well, next year, I know the Celtics are going to have to make some decisions. I don't know if you think Terry Rozier is more valuable than Marcus Smart, or if it's fairly even, or what do you think?
You know what? It depends on what you need. Because Marcus Smart, numbers-wise, he can't do what Terry Rozier could do offensively. But Marcus Smart is exceptional defensively, and he's a pest. He's an energizer bunny. He draws offensive fouls. So when I look at a Marcus Smart, there's always a role for somebody like that on your team. That's where it becomes problematic. But if I had to pick between the two, I would tell you Terry Rozier.
Fair enough.
He's a better shooter.
And that's what you take, right?
That's right.
This day and age?
That's what I would go with. In this day and age, that's what I would go with. Appreciate the call, Lori. Thank you so much. Jeff in Ohio, talk to me. You're live with Stephen A.
Stephen A.
Yes, sir.
Like the Gap Band said in the 1980s, you dropped the bomb today. Lying about Bill Jackson stealing Dolan's money was the greatest thing I've ever heard. Flat out, straight up truth.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Jeff. And I believed it. I totally believe it. With my heart. You stealing money. But I appreciate it, Dave. Jeff, rather. Thank you so much for the call. Tyron, Tennessee, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hello, Stephen. Hey, man, it's been about 3 years since I've talked to you. Obviously, a lot has happened since then, and I just want to say God bless you, my brother. God bless you.
God bless you. Go ahead.
And on the Knicks, and I agree, Mark Jackson should be the front runner. Culture change is needed in New York. But I'm going to throw this hypothetical out there. I don't know if it'll ever get to this, but to me, desperate times call for desperate measures. If you're the Knicks and James Dolan, at the end of the season, if you're not going to harm Mark Jackson, why wouldn't you, when free agency begins and when the season's over, why wouldn't you go to LeBron and say, LeBron, before you reject my proposal to you, why wouldn't you sit down with him and say, LeBron, look, we're going to give you the franchise. You want the coach? Pick your coach. You want the GM? Pick your GM. We're going to hand this franchise to you. Because that's only, I think the King would entertain that because it'd be power, and he loves power. We know that. And I think if you're James Dolan, you've done a bunch of other dumb things. Why wouldn't at the season end you sit down with LeBron? Because I believe he's going back to the finals and say, LeBron, this is your franchise.
I think the only power that LeBron is interested in is ownership. Other than that, I don't think so. I don't think that's what LeBron is interested in. I think as long as he's playing, he wants to compete for and be in position to possibly capture championships, and he wants to do it for as long as he can until his son is ready to come to the league. That's my personal belief. I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is. Tyron, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate the call. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Get into a lot more NBA playoff action in hour number 2. Plus, Tom Brady is making news for a few reasons. Plus, interesting case going on with somebody for the San Francisco 49ers. I'll explain. A.J. Green for the Cincinnati Bengals. Up next, start out hour number 2 with Stephen A.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Any minute or so now, we expected to have our next guest on the line. All-pro wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, A.J. Green. Very fond of this brother. It ain't his fault that they haven't won a championship. It ain't his fault. I can tell you that much. But I ain't going to get on him too much. He loves his coach. And I got to respect that. But I'm looking forward to talking to him about some of the things that we've seen in the draft, some of the things that are coming up. All right. On the line with us right now, as promised, All-pro wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, A.J. Green, with us on behalf of his partner, Rockin' Protein, the great tasting, high-quality protein drink, A.J. Trust. A.J. Green is on the line with us right now. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Where you at these days, man? Because it's nice weather in New York City, but I'm going to ask the question anyway because, damn it, I've been freezing for most of the year, and it's nice to be subjected to some nice warm weather. Where are you these days? Where are you at right now?
You know I'm in Cincinnati now. I'm back in Cincy.
Right. Now, how warm is it right there, AJ? How warm is it in Cincy?
It's 80 degrees right now, so it's good.
Okay, all right. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was kind of hoping you were freezing a little bit. Misery loves company sometimes. But listen, what have you been? What's an off season like for a wide receiver of your caliber? What's the kind of things you get yourself into during the off season? Do you relax a little bit? Are you training extensively? Give my audience a taste of what the off season is like for you.
Oh, of course, after the season, I take maybe 2 weeks off and then I'm back at it again. I never really take a break from, lifting weights or anything like that. So after those 2 weeks, I'm right back at it. I found my guy from Cincinnati and then, I have my other guy in Atlanta. So I do a lot of one-on-one training. So that's basically that's it.
Do you find yourself getting to any NBA games? Because we've been watching these NBA playoffs, and I'm loving it. Are you a basketball fan, or do you find yourself getting to any games?
Oh, yeah, I'm a big NBA fan. I'm definitely going to get to whenever Golden State gets, because I'm a big KD fan. LeBron's playing out his mind, so, that's only like a 30-minute flight to Cleveland from Cincy, so I'll be able to get to one of those games. But, I love the playoffs.
Now you know what people are saying, right? If you want to watch Cleveland, you might want to get there as soon as you possibly can. They might not be too long. They might not last too much longer going against Toronto. What do you think about that?
You can never. I can never bet against LeBron. That's how I feel. So
I got you.
My money is always on LeBron, so he make anything happen. So I can't tell him. I feel like Toronto is playing out their mind, but you gotta have LeBron. LeBron.
All-world receiver A.J. Green right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Here with us on behalf of his partner, Rockin' Protein, the great-tasting, high-quality protein drink A.J. Trust. A.J., before I get into that a little bit, let me ask you about your Cincinnati Bengals. You know me. You know I'm not going to avoid asking this question. I thought this was it for Marvin Lewis. He has survived again. Are you surprised by this? How happy are you that he's remaining as your head coach?
No, I'm not surprised. I feel like, Marvin, he does a lot of great things for us here. He's not out on the field playing. We just had a down year. We've been to the playoffs the last 7 years. We just couldn't get over that hump. But I feel like this year, I feel like we're going in a whole different directions. You saw with our draft picks, a lot of guys are, Coach Lewis is holding a lot of guys accountable. Being myself, you got to play better than you played last year, and I respect that. I feel like this year, starting this OTA is a whole different setting that I've been in since I've been here, and I think it's going in a good way.
Y'all missed the playoffs the last 2 years. Last year, you missed the playoffs with a 7-9 record. What was the problem last season with the team? If something had to stand out above everything else,
I think late in games we couldn't score. I think that thinking back to that 2015 season where we won a lot of those close games, and last year we couldn't do it. Whether it was on defense or offense, we couldn't go down and score. We couldn't stop anybody, and I think that was the biggest thing. We couldn't beat nobody when it was crunch time.
You and Andy Dalton are going into your 8th season together after both being drafted in 2011. Is there still time for you and him to be the focal point of a championship Bengals team? Is there still time for that in your estimation?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like, we still both in our primes, and I think we still haven't hitting our ceiling yet. And I feel like, we still have room to grow. With this offense, I feel like this offense doesn't go, if we don't go. And I feel like we have to get stuff going to, spark everything else.
One of the things that I've kept focusing on, AJ, is the fact that Marvin Lewis has been there for 15 years, has never won a playoff game or what have you. Y'all missed the playoffs now the last 2 years. I'm wondering, what is it that you believe y'all have to do? What's been missing from this team over your 8 years here in Cincinnati that just has to be present for y'all next season in order for y'all to get over the hump?
I just feel like we gotta play great football in November and December. You can't just burn out. We can't have great September, October games, and then come to February. Well, not February, but November, December games, and flat out. I feel like once those 2 months get here, we have to be playing at our top of our level. And I feel like the last 7 years we haven't. That's when you win championships. You get better in November and December and January. That's where the real season starts. So if we can get a couple games in, get on the roll, rolling into the playoffs, I think we'll be fine.
Well, I mean, listen, with this Rockin' Protein, that might help you. I mean, maybe you should give it to some of your. Maybe you should give it to some of your teammates in November and December. Talk to me about the Rockin' Protein.
Oh yeah, I try Rockin' Fuel. We've been partners for the last couple of years. It's my go-to protein, made out of real milk, which I love, and it's great taste, man. It doesn't just sit on your stomach like most of these protein companies. You can drink it while you're having a meal, or just you can drink it in general because it tastes so good. So.
Let me let you have a little bit of fun with me. Get on me for a second here, AJ. I need your help with something.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to get in shape, AJ. I'm trying to get in shape.
Oh, yeah.
I must confess to you, I got 2 problems. I'm a sugar addict, especially with my crunch berries. Okay, it's starting to get to the midsection. My brother, I need some help. Can you help me out with this, man? For all of us men out there who ain't 6'5" and in shape enough to go on a football field and be an all-pro, how can we get in shape and to make sure at least something close to a 6-pack? How can you help a brother out?
So one, you got to get the Rockin' Fuel. That's your first goal. You got to get some of that. That's the first step, and then we can get to the workouts. But like I said, you got to cut out the sugar. You can have candy. You can have a couple of cheat days, but most just lay off the sugar, drink a lot of water, do a lot of sit-ups.
Ain't y'all athletes lying about that stuff, though? Don't tell me y'all don't sit up there and cheat with some sugar. Tell the truth. Come on, y'all got, with all of that stuff that goes on, all the work that you got to do, y'all don't sneak away some Swedish Fish, some Skittles or something? Y'all don't cheat like that?
You have maybe one day out of the week where you can cheat, but that's, I'm not a big sweet person, so I really don't eat candy like that, but you have one day to really cheat like that, so.
I got you. Look, man, I gotta get back, I gotta switch back to a serious issue because before I let you get on out of here, I watched Ryan Shazier for the Steelers walk up to that podium and announce the Steelers pick, and I was so happy for him and what have you. But I hate the thought of him thinking about playing football again in light of what he has gone through. I mean, for him to be walking is just a miracle, and it's incredible. And I'm so happy for him. I don't think somebody that goes through something like that should ever think about going on a football field again. Where do you stand with that?
It was a crazy experience. Being on that field and watching him, lay motionless on that field without moving, man, was just crazy. But to see him the way he is today, the way he walked, is just unbelievable. I feel like he's a very, very godly man. So his faith is very, very heavy. But that's competitiveness. It's the competitor in us that want to come back and feel like we can overcome anything. When you're being a football player, you're like a warrior, man. You feel like you can accomplish anything out there. And that's just him, man. It's just it's in us. Like, it don't matter how bad we hurt and how bad the injury was, we always can feel like we always can come back from something. I think that's just in him. He just want to compete at the high level.
Last question. Last question. You got a lot of cats that are warriors and were warriors in the NFL, even the Calvin Johnsons of the world. But he retired after 9 seasons in the league, considering the current climate regarding head injuries. Do you see yourself stepping away from the game sooner than later with all the news that has come out about CTEs, concussions, and all of this other stuff? Where do you stand with all of that?
That's stuff I think about, but I feel like, I love this game so much. I knew what I signed up for. And I can live with it. I'm happy playing the game. I don't see myself walking away anytime soon. As long as I can go out there and play at a high level, and I can go out there and practice and be happy. I think I'll do it as long as I can.
Well, I know you can, and I wish you nothing but the best. It ain't your fault that the Bengals ain't winning. I tell you that much. It ain't your fault. Always good talking to you, bro. Always good talking to you. Take care of yourself, all right? No doubt. We'll see you down the road. The one and only A.J. Green for the Cincinnati Bengals joined us on behalf of his partner, Rockin' Protein, the great-tasting, high-quality protein drink, A.J. Trust. He's a good brother. I've known him for years, been talking to him for years, and it ain't his fault the Bengals can't win a damn playoff game. I can tell you that much. It ain't his fault. Y'all can say whatever y'all want, but damn it ain't his fault. Speaking of NFL, let's stay on this subject for a quick second before I get back to the NFL draft. I don't understand all of these people questioning why did the Giants take Saquon Barkley? Hey, you gotta get a quarterback. You gotta get a quarterback. Eli Manning. He's 37 years old, Steven. What's up? Oh, stop it. Do y'all realize that for the most part, for the vast majority of Eli Manning's career, he has not had an offensive line or a running game? Do y'all realize that? Eli Manning has not had an offensive line nor a running game. And in Saquon Barkley, he addresses 3 needs all rolled up into one. He helps secure and protect the quarterback because he's good at blocking and picking up blitzes. He can pass catch out of the backfield so you can dink and dunk to him. And he can run the damn football. At 233 pounds, he's putting up numbers that guys 30 pounds less than him struggle to put up. A 4.4 in the 40? What is the problem? I have no problem with Saquon Barkley being the number 2 overall pick for the Giants. I have no problem with it whatsoever. GM Dave Gettleman talking about he got one delicious offer. I don't know what that could have been, but it don't matter. I got to tell you. Giants still got a lot of decisions to make, but it is clear that they did a job. They drafted UTEP offensive guard Will Hernandez in round 2. I think that was a good pickup. I really, really do. So I look at it from that perspective. You're definitely trying to address the offensive line. You addressed your running game. You still got a few decisions to make. Now, if you want to look at a team and you're wondering about them, well, listen, I wouldn't say wonder about the Dallas Cowboys. I think Tavon Austin is a good pickup. But if I'm Dez Bryant, look, man, you better get a job quick before you out of options. Turn down the Baltimore Ravens job. Dez Bryant better get a job quick. If I'm Dez Bryant, I go to Green Bay and play with Aaron Rodgers. I want somebody to make me look good so I can be in a position to get paid. That's what I want if I'm Dez Bryant. The hell with coming to New York with Eli Manning. He's got Sterling Shepard and Odell Beckham Jr. and now Saquon Barkley. And I didn't even bring Evan Ingram into the equation. He was the guy that you targeted most last year. It's 115 targets. He was targeted 115 times. I'm sorry, but if that's me, and I'm Dez Bryant, I ain't trying to go to the Giants. I'll get lost in the mix. I might get a pass thrown at me every 3 weeks. Why would I do that? Let him go and replace Jordy Nelson in Green Bay. Then again, Jordy Nelson had breakaway speed. That's not Dez. Dez is a workhorse. But I'd still go to Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers is going to make me look good. That's what I do. I think Dez don't want that cold to Lambeau Field. I think that's what's messing with him, which I can't say I blame him for that because, damn, it's cold out there. I went to Minnesota for the week of the Super Bowl week. I have to confess to y'all, I really, really have to refrain. I got to tell y'all this. Minnesota a different kind of cold, y'all. Minnesota is a different kind of cold. I'm here to tell you that right now. Minnesota's a different kind of cold. And so is Lambeau Field, no doubt. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Before I go back to the phones and ultimately go to break, I want to read a little story to y'all, because, see, here's the point that I tried to make. And I want to preface my comments the way I always preface my comments on subjects like this. Men who commit domestic violence against women in particular are a disgusting breed. And they deserve to be dealt with. And the numbers show that over 85% of victims of domestic violence are women. So let's make sure we understand that and we take that into consideration with what I'm saying. Having said all of that, there are potentially rare cases, as I've stated in the past, where both men and women get lied on. And apparently, according to page 42 of the New York Daily News today, that has happened with the case of 49ers linebacker Reuben Foster. The ex-girlfriend of San Francisco 49ers linebacker Reuben Foster has submitted a video to prosecutors to support her statement that she lied when she told authorities Foster had hit her. Story goes on, but Santa Clara County Prosecutor Jim Dermertzes said Monday that the district attorney's office will continue to prosecute a domestic violence case against Foster, even if his ex-girlfriend, Alyssa Ennis, does not cooperate with the investigation. Quote, sadly, too often victims of domestic violence, for a host of reasons, choose not to cooperate with the process that holds their abusers accountable, the district attorney said. The prosecutor said, if the evidence independent of the victim in a domestic violence case is compelling, it's the prosecutor's duty to seek justice. So essentially what they're saying is they believe that she's lying about her saying she's lying. They believe that she's lying when she said she was lying. I want to repeat this. If he's guilty, off with him. Do what you got to do. No excuse for it. But what if she was lying? This is not to absolve or exonerate those guilty of such heinous acts. This is to point out, even if it's not Reuben Foster, that by and large, we live in a society where there's an awful lot of men who know better than doing some punk, weak, disgusting stuff like that. Because a lot of times, if a woman was being harmed, men almost anywhere wouldn't hesitate to come to her rescue. And I think at a time where we recognize the fact that this is a big issue, we also need to recognize the fact that there's a lot of men out there that are decent, God-fearing enough to know better than doing such a thing and to come into the aid of a woman in need in that regard. I think in this day and age, sometimes it's important to point that out. So I just did it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Fletcher in San Antonio, talk to me.
Hey, Steven, what's up, man? Big fan of yours. Hey, I'm wondering, what do you think about Dez linking up with the Rams?
Well, they don't need him. I mean, do they really need him right now? I mean, Sammy Watkins is gone, right? What do they need now? Who do they have in Los Angeles now? You still got Cup. You've got Cup. You've got Woods, right? I guess you could use Dez, but you already got Aqib Talib in that locker room with that kid from Kansas City. And you got a coach that's 31 years old. So I don't know about that. It remains to be seen. You might have a point, though. You hear me? You might have a point. Adam in New Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Good afternoon, Steve. How you doing? I'm a big fan of the show. I really like it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
For the last part about the weather in Minnesota, I lived here in New York for the last 10 years, and then I moved to Wisconsin, and I'm extremely had a very, very hard time up there. So my question is this. I'm a Warriors big fan, and I'm really nervous when I see this Houston Rockets. But I always heard you repeatedly saying you should be worried about Houston. Listen, I would pick the Warriors. That's me. But I got to tell you, there's an awful lot of people that tell me they would pick Golden State. I mean, that they would pick Houston. James Harden is the real deal, and so is CP3. You're talking about two future Hall of Famers there, leading the way. And Clint Capella is special. And I'm a fan of Gerald Green. I'm a fan of Eric Gordon. I'm a fan of Trevor Ariza. A little bit less for Ryan Anderson, because I think that he's just too inconsistent for me. But believe it or not, I respect the hell out of Mike D'Antoni. I never gave him any credit for any kind of defense whatsoever until this year. But he's always been brilliant offensively, and he's actually a very good man. He's actually a very good man, very nice man. So, I mean, I don't root against him. But I got to tell you that James Harden and Chris Paul are the real deal. Daryl Morey as an executive is the real deal. He's actually going to be on this show in a few days as well. I got to call him. He told me to call him. I got to do that. But the man has done a sensational job as an executive for the Houston Rockets. I can't take credit away from him. It's very, very special. Houston is a team to be reckoned with, Adam. They cannot be dismissed. Okay? One more thing, please.
Hurry up. Go ahead.
Drummond Green, he says that everybody forgot how good we are. And when you see the first game between the Pelicans and the Warriors, they really reminded you of the Warriors in 2015-16. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but they were going against the Pelicans. It wasn't the Houston Rockets. Remember that. Competition must be taken into consideration. Appreciate the call.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like a whole new person. Disclaimer, you will not become a whole new person. This is impossible. You might be able to join a gym or diet program, buy a new wardrobe, get hair implants, but your DNA and physical form will remain the same. Geico waives any and all liability if you attempt to become a new person, except a cyborg. If you choose to become a half-human, half-cybernetic organism with lasers for eyes, the Geico legal team would be cool with that, because, quote, laser eyes are pretty sweet. Pew, 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 end quote.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Steph Curry, it is official, will make his postseason debut tonight for Game 2 against the New Orleans Pelicans. The Warriors have officially announced Steph Curry will play tonight, Game 2 against the Pelicans. Want to make sure of that. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. Back to the phones we go at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Chris in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Stephen A. My apologies for yesterday, man. I wasn't prepared. Real quick answers from you, if you don't mind. Do you believe that Carmelo Anthony waived his no-trade clause to leave New York to go to Oklahoma City?
No. I think he should take the $28 million because he'll never get that money back.
No. Okay. Well, that wasn't a question I asked. But, okay, so do you believe he's still chasing the championship?
I think he will be chasing the championship. I don't think he'll capture one. If he wants a championship, he's going to have to sacrifice money. Nobody's going to pay Carmelo Anthony $28 million the way he's looked this year. Nobody's giving him that money.
I agree 1,000%. So it just baffles my mind that he's not willing to come off the bench if he's chasing a championship. But real quick, I want to touch on what I saw from Boston and Philly, if you don't mind. I think Philly's in trouble, Stephen A. For just my point of view, I believe this is a bad matchup for Philly because all the shooters and all that good stuff that you guys see, the only mismatch that Philly has is Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons, as good as he is, he's not a shooter, and they're forcing him to beat them. And they're staying attached to the Bellinellis, the Ilyasovas, the Redicks, and those guys aren't able to put the ball on the ground and create for themselves. So when Ben Simmons has the ball, he's looking elsewhere, but Boston's staying attached to the same Ben beat us. Joel's going to do what he does. But there's a matchup on the other end. They can't defend Tatum. They're getting Brown back, and they can't defend Rozier. So I think Philly might be in trouble, Stephen A. And that's my opinion.
I definitely think they're going to be in trouble because here's the reality. What alarmed me most about what I saw last night was Boston's ability to run Philadelphia's three-point shooters off the line and make them put the ball on the floor and try to penetrate in the interior in order to make something happen. They essentially forced the Sixers into becoming a two-point shooting team instead of a three-point shooting team. And that concerns me a great, great deal. Philadelphia is going to have to have an answer for that. And it's going to have to start with Ben Simmons. He's going to need to attack the basket. He's going to need to go at the basket and to make things happen. That's what he's going to need to do. If not just for himself, but but to create open shots for others. If he can't do that, Philadelphia's not going to win the series.
I agree. Real quickly, let me go. But I don't believe he's a threat to do that, though, Stephen. And Boston knows that. Brad Stevens, as good as he is with his X and O's, he knows Ben Simmons is not looking to score. He knows he's not looking to score.
No, Chris, you're wrong. He's not looking to score from the perimeter. But if you give Ben Simmons a path to the basket or he takes it, he will finish at the basket. The point is, if he does that with skill, then ultimately you're going to have to pay more attention to him, which means you'll have to suffocate the lane. If you suffocate the lane, that's going to leave shooters open on the wing. And at 6'10", with his passing and ball handling ability, he's clearly capable of feeding other guys on the perimeter. That's why I'm saying it starts with him. He gets into the lane, you finish at the basket, you force them to pay attention to you, and that will open up shots for three-point shooters. And you got about 5 or 6 of them. You should be able to do that.
But he doesn't want to go to the free throw line, Stephen A. That's something to keep in mind as well. I don't believe he wants to go to the free throw line.
Well, you got to remember, he was shooting 57% in the regular season. He's shooting 71% in the postseason.
But this is money time now.
Well, you answering questions that you asking, bro. I'm giving you answers. His free throw shooting has improved better than 10% in the postseason. So if he was scared, he clearly has overcome that fear because he's hitting more free throw shots. So we shall see. I got to run. I appreciate the call. Thank you. Herman in New Orleans, you're live with Stephen A. What's going on?
Hey, Stephen A., big fan of yours.
Thank you, man.
I got a two-part question for you. Now that Stephen Curry's playing tonight, I don't know how the Pelicans are going to win this series, but after this series, do you think they'll be able to sign Boogie Cousins and keep Mirotic to be able to compete with Houston and Golden State. Now hang up and listen to your answer.
I don't know if they should keep Boogie Cousins. I think they might be better off without him. I think you might be better off getting Boogie Cousins to engage in a sign and trade and letting him go someplace like Washington for Otto Porter, or letting him go somewhere else. Because in this particular system, when you see the way New Orleans is shining, I don't think you do that with Boogie Cousins on the floor. Rondo, with Drew Holiday in the backcourt, has been incredible for the Pelicans thus far in the postseason. Obviously not game one against the Warriors, but clearly against the Portland Trailblazers. With Boogie Cousins, you run your offense through him because he's such an exceptional passer, but you're still slower. And I think the West Coast, the Western Conference, particularly in the postseason, it's more of an up-tempo kind of thing. I definitely think that's the case. So I appreciate the call. Thank you. Let's go to Mike in Missouri. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike?
Hallelujah, sir. Thank you. I love your show. Stephen A., I just want to make a quick little, I've been watching the NBA for years and years and years, and I've loved it all. But what it comes down to me between LeBron and Michael being the GOAT, Michael broke my heart many nights because when I was watching him play, I was a Celtic fan, okay? Michael was going out scoring 40, 50, 60 games, and losing playoff series, okay? But as Michael matured, Michael was more of a coach on the court. He made the other guys better. He get up in their grill. He get up in Bill Cartwright's grill. You know what I'm saying? He get up in Scotty's grill. That is what is lacking with LeBron. Michael, at LeBron's age, he would that game with Indiana wouldn't have went 7 games, sir. That would have been a sweet, sweet, sweet. And I just want to let you know I enjoy your show, and I'm gonna continue listening, and I'm gonna get off here and let you say what you need to say, sir.
I deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I thank you for listening. I will tell you that I love LeBron. I think he's the greatest player in the world. I think he's an incredible role model. I think he's all of these things that, he wants everybody to know about him while he tries to control one narrative after another, which is the only thing I get on him about. It's like, look, just because somebody's getting on you about basketball doesn't mean we fail to recognize the greatness of you not only as a player, but as a human being. And there's nothing wrong with us just focusing on your basketball exploits, because we ain't trying to get all into your personal life, at least not this way. Having said that, LeBron will never be Jordan to me. Jordan is a 6-time NBA champion, 6 finals MVPs who has never allowed the NBA Finals series to get to a 7th game. Ever. That's what resonates with me. And to me, that level of perfection, that level of greatness, I happen to be one of those individuals who believe that if Jordan hadn't retired, Houston would have never won a championship. Jordan and his teams would have beat Olajuwon with Kenny Smith, with Robert Horry and Clyde Drexler and all of these boys. I happen to firmly believe that Michael Jordan and his teams would have beaten them. That's what I believe.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Back to the calls we go. Before we get on out of here for the day, Sal in L.A., you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hi, Stephen A. I want to say, first and foremost, thank you for everything you do. I love listening to your show, and I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
I'd also like your opinion on the Lakers this upcoming season. If Magic isn't able to get any of these superstars, what do you think it's going to be looking like for him?
I think that the Lakers got to get themselves a star. This year, you're going to have LeBron and Paul George available. Even though after Paul George's performance in Game 6, some would question whether he's a star. I don't, but some would question that because you can't score 5 points in a closeout Game 6 loss. You just can't do that when you're a star. I will tell you that the following summer, you got Klay Thompson, you got Jimmy Butler, you got a couple other people as well. Magic's got to get one of them. Magic's got to get at least one of them over the next 2 summers. Magic cannot just fail to get these guys. He's Magic Johnson. And when you hear the words Magic Johnson, you expect Showtime. And you got to add to the crop of young thoroughbreds that you have. It's just that simple. Appreciate the call, Sal. Thank you. Brian in Nashville, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Yes, sir. Mr. Stephen A., man, I definitely am glad to be on the show and call in, man. I've always been a longtime supporter of your show and listening to you, man. excellent at what you do, man. My thing about LeBron, man, and I just want to hear your take on it. Like, it's just like Kobe when he was going off the scene in so many words. I think some people just kind of want to see more respect for him, like for what he's done. Not so much from you, because you always do that, but sometimes the media can kind of move on a little too quickly. It's like, okay, well, this man has been there, he's done it. At least give him his props. I just want to hear what you thought about
LeBron. This is about LeBron?
Yes, sir.
I just think that LeBron is the greatest in the world. And there's but so many ways and but so many times you can say that. And eventually he's got to learn this too. You got to chronicle what he does. Like, for example, Brian, I'm a soap opera fan, okay?
Yes, sir.
I have a recurring role on the show General Hospital, which is my favorite soap opera, even though I'm great friends with Eric Braeden, who's the Victor Newman character on Young and the Restless. Here's the deal. Whether it's Victor Newman on Young and the Restless or Sonny Corinthos on General Hospital, they could get shot. They could get blown out of a building. They could fall down a flight of stairs and fall into a coma. All of these things could happen. But you know something else, Brian? They're going to live. They're going to live.
True.
Does that mean you stop telling the story? Of course not. And that's what people who love LeBron, including LeBron himself, have to recognize. Even though you recognize his greatness, you're still going to tell a story while the story is going on, because that's what happens with greatness. You want their stories told.
Gotcha.
That's
and
the way it goes.
And the full spectrum as well. So I totally understand what you're saying. Thanks for taking my call.
Take it easy, man. Chris in Miami, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Thank you, Stephen. I think Coach Stevens outcoached Brown last night.
Yes, he did.
I think he made it a half-court game.
Yes, he did.
There wasn't any transition threes.
Yes,
that's
true.
That all those threes were not in rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, if we go up 2-0, are you changing your pick?
Say what?
If we go up 2-0, are you changing your pick?
No, I'm not. I got to see what happens in Philadelphia. And it's not a change, it's a concession. Like, I wouldn't sit up there and be like, oh, I'm changing my pick. No, I have to concede I was wrong. You see the difference?
I got you.
You got some people who will remain nameless that'll change their pick and try to act like they're so brilliant. Whereas me, I would be like, I'm conceding I was wrong. See the difference? That's what I would do. Take it easy. John in Manhattan, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me real quick.
Hey, Stephen, how do you? First of all, I'm conceding I was wrong about OKC because at the beginning of the season I said they would make it to the Western Conference Finals.
That's right.
And you see they've gone home. But in your last segment, you talked about LeBron and Michael. The thing is that Michael, since they're in different eras, the thing is they're great. But the one thing, Michael would probably be great today because the way they call fouls now, he would average 60 a game.
Well,
the thing is that.
Well, Jordan would average about 60 a game, but what you got to remember is that, listen, LeBron is definitely assisted by today's soft pedaling per se, because the NBA, in an effort to make the game more entertaining to watch and less rugged, have instituted rules and regulations to the point where sometimes you can get called for a technical for having bad breath, it seems. It's just that ridiculous. But that's not to take away from LeBron, because LeBron's greatness would have been sustained in any era. Any era, John. Remember that.
Okay.
All right? I got to run, John. I appreciate the call. But LeBron transcends eras. Make no mistake. By the way, I think they'll lose tonight, though, because he's tired. And you can't beat the Raptors with a tired LeBron James. And needless to say, Steph Curry's coming back tonight. I predict he's going to drop at least 30. Talk to y'all in 22 hours. Until then, peace and love.
We're drafting for the future in the NBA right now. How many players would you take over Boston Celtics coach Brad Stevens? That on the Will Cain Show right after Stephen A. Smith on ESPN Radio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.